Now, in-depth coverage of the Texas legislative session. In session, in depth.
What a week at the Capitol as people from all over the state rallied for Texas Faith and Family Day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. A time to reinforce conservative principles from pro-life to traditional family values. Several Republican lawmakers spoke about keeping God in schools, women's health care, and marriage.
We have to work hard to protect our traditional values like the sanctity of marriage, the Defense of Marriage Act, defining marriage as one man, one woman.
The rally came on the same day the U.S. Supreme Court began hearing arguments about same-sex marriage. It's an appeal of California's Proposition 8 that limits marriage only between a man and a woman, but it could change the law here in Texas, too. Back in 2005, voters approved a similar amendment to the state constitution. The measure passed by a 3-to-1 margin statewide. Voters in all but one of the state's 254 counties passed the amendment. The one exception, Travis County. Here, 60% of voters went against the measure. The Supreme Court also heard arguments over the week about the Defense of Marriage Act, a federal law that says no state is required to recognize a same-sex marriage from another state. Rulings in both cases are expected in a few months. At the same time, a major move by the Austin Independent School District is grabbing attention at the Capitol. AISD will soon become the second district in the state to offer its employees domestic partner benefits. So far, the policy has mixed reviews.
They can't get insurance under their partner's plan, and it just doesn't seem fair to me and doesn't make any sense.
I just want us to have the best education, and I think we have to watch out what we indoctrinate our children with.
The change is set for September 1st, but there is a pending Attorney General opinion to say if the move is even possible in Texas. After a big debate last year, Pflugerville ISD was the first district in Texas to make this move, but the idea comes under fire in a House bill this session. It would penalize school districts with this policy by taking away funding for health insurance. In other education news, every school district in the state will feel the impact of a testing bill making its way through the Capitol. The House just passed a bill to cut the number of standardized tests kids must pass to graduate from 15 down to 5. It also creates new graduation plans for career tech students who want to go straight to work after high school instead of college. The measure now makes its way to the Senate. The state budget bill hits the House floor this Thursday, but through the entire process, two very different proposals for school funding have emerged. After massive cuts last session, the House version of the budget pumps $2.5 billion back into education, while the Senate version dips lower with $1.4 billion. Districts say it's a start, and a school finance court appeal could mean more money eventually. One of the loudest voices in the fight for school funding has been from a Fort Worth Democrat. Senator Wendy spoke with us one-on-one at the Capitol about that push and also the rumors of a run for governor. So with the Senate budget, you were one of two people that voted against it. How have your fellow Democrats received that vote?
You know, I was very encouraged by what happened in the House the very next day. The House Appropriations Committee voted to add an additional $1 billion to public school funding in Texas, getting us almost halfway back from those $5.4 billion cuts that were made. And I think it really restored the confidence in our Democrats throughout the Capitol, including Republicans, who are very interested in making sure that we return those proceeds to our schools so they can get back to the job of educating our children in the way that they need to.
When we talk about that $5.4 billion that was cut last session, Chairman Pitts over on the House side has indicated that there might be more money coming in supplementary appropriation items. Are you seeing any kind of movement like that on the Senate side?
Yes, and I think that we probably will see some money added in the second supplemental. Keep in mind that that second supplemental really puts the money into the current biennium that we're in. It doesn't add any dollars to the biennium that we're budgeting for right now. So right now what's on the table, and hopefully will remain there, is $2.5 billion back toward the $5.4 billion cut. It's still not enough. We know that classrooms across the state of Texas are overcrowded. We know that 25,000 educators lost their jobs as a consequence of those cuts. And we know that children's education in Texas is suffering. An NEA National Education Association study just revealed that Texas has the ignoble label of being 49th in what it spends per pupil. And of course, cost isn't everything, money isn't everything, but it's absolutely a very important part of making sure that our children receive the education that they deserve.
In the final hours of the last session, I remember seeing you there reading all those constituent letters, making that filibuster. How has your life and your career changed since that moment?
You know, I am very proud to be a person who receives a lot of communication throughout the state from parents and teachers alike about the state of public education in Texas. I think that they feel confident that I am a voice for them on this issue. And honestly, I am answerable to my community on this issue, my Senate district on this issue. It was a pivotal issue in the race that I just came out of, a very difficult contest for my reelection, and those are the folks that I care most about. Not about whether I'm voting along with my colleagues here on the Senate floor, but that I'm answering to what my community expects of me and setting politics aside from this issue and trying to make it, as it should be, about our kids and giving them the support that they need.
But it kind of has put you in the political spotlight. I mean, people are even talking about you may be running for governor in 2014.
If I'm in the spotlight for supporting public education, I'm very proud to be there because of that.
Have you seriously considered that option?
I am running for my Senate district in 2014 and looking forward, hopefully, to earning the confidence of my community once again and being reelected for that seat.
How do you feel like Democrats fare in the upcoming election as far as statewide offices?
I don't know. Too soon to tell at this point, but I do think there's certainly some concern about some of the partisan policies that we've seen from Republican leadership here in the state, both in terms of their discriminatory impact on our Latino population primarily, but also in not supporting fully the investment in the most important capital we have, our human capital, and the consequences that we're seeing in our education system because of that. We are number one in the country on the number of adults without a high school diploma. We're 46th in the country on our SAT scores. We are very close to being number one on our dropout rates, and I know that Texas can do better than that, and our community believes Texas can do better than that, and they want to see us take up the responsibility of our most important task, that constitutionally driven requirement that we support an adequate and free system of public education. Of course, the courts have ruled in favor of that perspective. That's on its way to appeal to the Supreme Court. I don't think the legislature should have to wait to be told by the court to fulfill our responsibility to Texas school children, but I'm fighting to do as much as we can absent that.
What do you think that special session for, if we have to come back in spring might look like?
Obviously, we will be faced with a very difficult question, and that is how to fund public education once and for all in a way that's sustainable and that is adequate and that is equitable. And those are very, very hard and challenging questions. I know that we will put a great deal of thought into it, but I hope what we will primarily do is rely on our constituencies to guide us in terms of what they would like to see us doing on those issues.
Our conversation continues online with Senator Davis. Hear what she has to say about domestic partner benefits at Austin schools. You can watch her extended interview at KXAN.com. Just search for this story in the legislature section. Coming up, there are two Central Texas lawmakers from different parties, but both are helping to write the budget and spend your tax dollars for the next 2 years. Representatives Donna Howard and Larry Gonzalez join our roundtable later in the program. But come